All right, Sophie King Cool here is with Todd from 2020 AD. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing, Ramsey?
Doing good. Just getting used to these Zoom interviews. Hopefully,
Yeah,
the
we're
world.
doing a lot of them this week, doing a lot of press this week ourselves. So
Now, is this new album that you have coming out, the Lockdown Diaries? Is that like a spin on Bumblefoot's lockdown tracks that he was doing?
no, not really. So are you talking about his barefoot um, acoustic stuff that he was doing, or is there something else that I'm not aware of?
He has the Interplanetary Lockdown.
Oh yeah. No, it's not at all. So basically, the album was conceived at the height of the pandemic while we were all locked down, and it was just one of those things. It was our notes, it was our thoughts, it was those were the sorts of things that went into the album.
Now, I know there's a lot of different players on this album here. How'd you guys all come together?
Sure. So Mark McNally and myself, Mark's the lead singer on the project. We've worked together in different bands and different music groups over the years, about the last 10 or 12 years. Him and I had talked back in 2019 about doing an original music project. And I told him then, I'm on board. Let's do it if we can, put together the right project. I wanted to get the best producers, musicians involved that I could. So last year during the lockdown, Dan Reed from Dan Reed Network, who is a friend of mine, and him and I had a couple of phone calls about some other things that we're working on together, not music related, but out of those calls, came the notion that, hey, this might be a good time to collaborate and write some songs together. And when I pitched the idea to Dan, he was on board with it. He had the time in his schedule to take it on. And, out of that, he asked me, he's like, well, who else are you going to have on board? Who's going to play guitar, lead guitar? Who's going to play bass and that sort of thing? And I told him at that time, I said, well, I know Greg Smith from Ted Nugent's band, and he's also played with, just everybody out there, Alice Cooper, Billy Joel, on and on. And I knew Greg, and I said, I'll probably give Greg a call and see if he's interested. And then I also said, I've been listening to Bumblefoot a lot lately, and I had met Ron probably about a year earlier at a Carl Palmer event. And so I told Dan, I said, yeah, I want to get Bumblefoot to play guitar on this. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And that was kind of the impetus of it. And we started making some phone calls, and I called Greg and, told him what I had going on and played him some demos, and he was on board. We spent 2 or 3 phone calls with Ron Thal till we finally got a commitment. And it was just, it was doing Zoom calls like this, just getting to know each other, talking, playing demos, finding out that we have musical interests in common and stuff. And that's how that all came about. Melvin Brannon from Dan Reed Network, he got involved then later, as we already had most of the tracks written and we were starting to track them. He had heard some of the early demos, and he mentioned to Dan that, hey, I'd really like to play on some of those tracks. Do you think Todd wants me? As soon as I heard that, I was like, absolutely, let's get him on a couple. So Melvin plays bass on a couple tracks. And the last person on the project was Derek Sherinian, who obviously has a connection with Ron and had also played with Greg Smith in Alice Cooper's band. So, there's a lot of threads here that connect people. And it was just fun. It was just a really cool way to do this during the lockdown.
I can't emphasize this enough, but Ron is truly one of the nicest guys in the music industry.
Absolutely. I wish I had $1 for every person that tells me that. It is so true. I mean, he really is. He has been he's been fantastic. He's become a colleague, a friend, all of that. And what's funny, when I tell people, I said this last year for me has been like going back to school and going through an intense year of college and in the music business. And, I couldn't have asked for better professors. I got Professor Bumblefoot, I got Professor Reed, I got Professor Smith, and all these guys. And, they've challenged me, given me some tough projects to do at times. And yeah, it's been good.
Now, with restrictions lightening up all over the place, have you guys ever been able to come all together yet, or no?
Have we been able to come out? each person is approaching it, at their comfort level. And so like right now, I know Greg Smith is playing some shows, and I believe Melvin's playing some shows. Outside of that, I haven't really heard. I know Ron did some shows a little while ago, and he kind of felt, it might be a little too early for me to be back in the game yet at this point. Myself and Mark, we're going to probably do some stuff next year. Um, this has been nothing but constant for me since 2019, really. So I'm going to take a little time off after the album's out, and then 2022 get back into it.
What I meant is, you guys as a band, have you guys ever been able to all be in the same room yet?
No, that hasn't happened. So I see Greg periodically. I'm about 2 hours from him, and I see Mark quite a bit. I'm going to have breakfast with Mark probably this weekend. But I try and connect with everybody I can. I see Greg at least maybe once a month or every other month if it's not at a gig, somewhere we connect. Ron, I've seen a couple times through the lockdown. Melvin, I haven't seen in a few years. It's, again, we just do Zoom calls and that sort of thing. Dan Reed, he's in Prague, Czech Republic. So, they're locked down to US entry, I think, still. So yeah, it's been a little while. We're hoping 2022 to get everybody together at some point. Probably not all in the same room, but hope to see everybody in 2022.
I mean, how crazy is that technology advanced where it is, where you're able to put out an entire album and never even be in the same room as anybody?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of logistics, and a lot of organization went into it, and we have a really small team. So yeah, it's been a challenge on, some levels. It's been really good. Again, what I told a lot of people early on, I said, the crazy thing about all this is we're doing it. We're in it, we're in it waist deep. We're into it neck deep now, or whatever. I said, the craziest thing about all this is, I really don't know what I don't know. And I'm finding things out as we go through it and we navigate the landscape of, getting the album recorded and getting all that together. And now it's getting ready for release and we're navigating all those waters. So yeah, it's been a real interesting project. Thank God, the technology does exist and we were able to do this. It was the only people that really got together at the same time, I'm going to say, are me and Mark. I did my drum tracks in September. And then a few weeks later, he was back down at the same studio. And I went down just to kind of give him some moral support, sit in on the sessions and, help Ron, the mix engineer and producer, helped him, with some of the vocal stuff, the best that I could. So it's been a really good team effort all the way around.
Now, if the lockdown never came about, would this project still have taken off, even if it wasn't with the lineup that it is now?
Would this have taken off? Again, it was one of those things. I only wanted to commit to something myself if it was going to be really good. And I think we have a product that is going to, definitely hold its own on a national level, as well as any album out there. So that would have been the tough thing. I mean, just who would we get, who was available, that sort of thing. I mean, this was just a golden opportunity for us on a lot of levels. And then the other thing that, it wasn't just all opportunistic either. It was, I also wanted to do things. I wanted to be able to give back where I could. I have a lot of friends that are musicians. I have a lot of friends that are in the business, and I have ties to it. So, a small part of me wanted to give something back as well, so that was conversations we had early on in the project. Yeah.
Now, when you get a group of talented musicians like you guys, with everybody with their own talents, their own skills, their own genres of music, how does that all come to play when you guys are writing tracks?
It's cool. So I have the utmost respect for everybody, and I told everybody that pretty much from day one. And everybody was given pretty much a blank sheet of paper to create their parts that went on the record. Obviously, I had two you know, two amazing people that really helped produce the thing, and that was Dan Reed, and then Ron also had his ears into things, and you know, they both have $1 million ears. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they're just, you know, they hear things that even with me being a player for, you know, 25 years or so, I wouldn't have picked up. And just having those $1 million ears, like I like to call them, on the record, just really got things where it really needed to be. So, um, you know, as far as everybody's input and stuff, like I said, everybody had a blank sheet of paper. Everybody brought their own style to it. The record, I'm going to say it's a rock record, and it's rock with a groove, which is something I really like. You know, I like to play heavy stuff. I like to play all kinds of music, but I also like stuff that people can groove to. And I think that's kind of what we've went after. You know, Motley Crue, my 1980s, you know, feel good album. That stuff was rock with a groove, and this stuff that we did, it's not. It doesn't sound like that, but it's rock with a groove. You know, and that's kind of where the record's at. It's all different landscapes, different textures, but it's got a groove. It's just not, you know, it's just not headbanging stuff. So
Now,
it's cool.
the first single you put out is Ricochet, and I kept to say, man, I love that track.
Do you? Cool.
It's great.
Yeah. What do you love about it?
I just love the complete sound. I mean, the way it goes through, you could definitely could tell that everyone had their little bit of input to put inside of it, and it was just, you know, it was awesome music. You could tell.
Cool. Cool. So,
musicians
unfortunately, Mark couldn't be here to, you know, in this interview, but I'll tell you a little bit about the song. So Mark had written the lyrics for that a number of years ago and had worked it up with some demos and stuff, and it was going in a different direction. So when it was time for us to start putting this together, he went back to his archives and pulled the song out. So Ricochet, I think, was either the first or the second song that we had a demo for. And I remember hearing it, and I was just, you know, I was really excited about it. And one of the really cool things about it is Dan Reed is he's just an amazing writer. The demos that he sent back to us, you know, were just spot on. I mean, they sounded better than some bands' records. You know, I mean, his demos were that great. And so I was excited about it, you know, that song in particular, from the first demos and stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's a really good example of how everybody contributed their parts. You know, again, everybody was wide open, and Mark and I never really talked about what the meaning of the song was about. I heard certain things, and I mean, I was just constant, like arranging all the business matters to make this work, and I'm practicing the tunes and working on writing stuff, and it was, you know, we just had a lot going on. So I never had the conversation with him about what is this song about. In my mind, when I was hearing it and I was hearing the demos and stuff, to me, it always had sort of a Southwestern gunslinger type feel to it, you know, especially the title Ricochet. That's just what was in my head. So when I was putting drum parts together, you know, I was creating things to me that, you know, kind of sat in the groove, but also had, you know, some suspense to it and maybe some different elements going on. So if you listen carefully, you know, there's some almost sounds like little gunshots ricocheting off of metal and stuff like that. And those are cymbal accents that I did. And that's where my head was at with it, you know. And then Greg played his bass part on it, which is amazing. And everybody did their parts. And I even love the little electronica stuff that's kind of in the beginning. If you listen carefully, it's Dan Reed. There's a little electronica thing that kicks the tune off, and, you know, and the harmonies and stuff are great. But I just, you know, the hair stood up on my arms when I heard the solo that Ron Bumblefoot had did. And we never told him, you know, hey, we'd like to have a slide guitar solo on this. He came up with that on his own. And just, you know, that was one of those days that, you know, you remember. You do an album like this and it's like, yeah, I remember the day he sent those tracks over, and, you know, it's one of those moments I'll always remember. Yeah.
Now, does the entire album have that same sound, or do you guys branch out in different songs?
It's different, man. It's like, it doesn't sound like any other album that I know. And so with that, there's elements, you know, you're going to say, oh, I hear that, you know, and I might hear some Pink Floyd. Oh, and I might hear some, you know, some other influences, and those influences are there, but I think, it's an album that doesn't sound like anything else because it's a collection of people. We all are strong opinion, but at the same time, we respected everybody's abilities to create and do what they wanted to do. So yeah, I think it sounds like us. I don't think it sounds like anybody else, you know?
Now, after the album drops going forward, where do you see this band going?
Um, we get asked that question a lot, in terms of, you know, are you guys going to tour? And usually what I kid people and I say, well, we're the non-traveling Wilburys. We're not going to tour, and we don't see that happening. The likelihood of that happening is, um, few and far between. There's just a lot going on. Everybody has, full-time projects that they're involved with, that sort of thing. We have people that are on different continents, that kind of stuff. So the likelihood of us ever touring with this lineup probably never happened. But we could do it in pieces, maybe, and you may see a couple of us get together and do some stuff together. We may guest with others. There's just a lot of different things we're discussing. We've talked maybe about doing a second album, and some of the people involved are interested in doing, a follow-up at some point. You have to see how this first one does. You have to see how the first one goes.
You see, yeah, that's what I meant. Is if you guys are going to continue to make music, I mean, obviously, the logistic of touring is just going to be impossible. I mean, I can see, maybe a one-off show here or there in the future.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're thinking about. I mean, we had a blast doing the album. So there was really, there was no drama, there was nothing. It was just great. I mean, we had a great time, and from that standpoint, there's mutual respect all the way around. If something presented itself, I think we would do it. It's just we're all at a point right now where everybody's trying to feel, how do we get back into the game, and what is the game going forward? What's the game going to be going forward? Is it going to be touring like we used to do, or is it something new? I think everybody's
I could definitely see you guys as more of a festival act than anything. You know what I mean? Where something big enough came about for all you guys to finally.
Yeah, and it may be, and I mean, it could even be something as small as Mark and myself and a couple players who weren't on the album going the festival route to play in support of the album, and that could happen. Yeah, we have to see.
So after this, what's next for you?
For me personally, I have a 6:00 call. You mean further down the road, or
like in general, No,
I know. I'm just kidding. Yeah, in general, I mean, obviously, let's get the album out, and I want to see how the album does. This fall, like I said, I'm going to take some time off, much needed time off, because it's just been grueling since 2019. I mean, I've been, it'll be almost 2 years, almost straight without a day off, you know what I mean? Practically. So I'm ready for some time off. Next year, we'll start to, Mark and I play in a couple different projects, and, we're going to start to put things back together. But as of right now, all the projects that we were working with, they're all on hiatus until this album comes out.
Now, are you guys going to go the traditional band route and do merchandising, hard copies, vinyls, things like that?
Yeah, we're working on it. As a matter of fact, that's the album cover. So yeah, we definitely have a CD release that'll be ready in August. We're also doing vinyl. Vinyl, when we first started looking at doing the record, was at about a 7-week order time. Now it's at about 24 weeks. So that was the other thing, that's all part of this process. So we don't have a record label per se. We pitched to a couple different labels, and the deals and things that came back to us weren't, they weren't in our best interest. And it just wasn't what we were really looking for. So with that in mind, we went back to, we're going to do this independently. Well, releasing a record independently is no easy job, and there's a lot to it. So we've done all that. We've formed a record label. We're releasing Lockdown Diaries independently, but it's just all the little pieces, getting everything in place. So yeah, as far as merch and stuff, we're working on that. We're finalizing that. By August, it'll be together. We're working with a company that's based in Poland, actually, who's going to do all the shipping and order fulfillment and stuff. And especially for European fans and the US, we've gone that route so we can keep the shipping costs down on everything.
Now, with you forming your own record label, what are the chances of you guys doing stuff individually on that label?
Yeah, that could happen. And it's one of the things that I'm looking at as well. You know, to go through all of the setup and all the process of forming a label. You know, one of the things I want to be able to do is I want to be able to help other artists. You know, once we have the clear plan down on how to do it and how to do it successfully, hopefully, you know, we'll be able to offer guidance to other people. You know, and it's one of the things that we plan on doing as well.
Awesome. Now, those that are watching this, they want to get the album, they want to check out the track Ricochet, they want to know more about you guys. Where do they go? What do they do for everything?
Sure. The best starting point is our website, www.ad2020music.com.
Awesome.
And from there will have all the links to social media everywhere. Yeah.
Great, man. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I love the track. I can't wait to hear the rest of the album. And I wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear feedback from people. You know, I value that. That's the key to the whole thing. You know, we're just waiting now to hear, you know, what do people think? So it's great to hear that. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Take care of yourself.
You too. Take care, brother. Thanks.